With all we've said about the damage being caused by, what's unknown to be in those, like, and the nature of what those trade agreements are and how it relates to water and the death of our planet, it is literally true that if we're going to say to people, listen, we don't really care about this sort of, stuff we did get from our political class about, the free market versus regulation, pro business versus, environmental regulations. This is all our nonsensical, like, debate here. But when these things are applied to the developing world, they're actually very frightening. We've talked about the millions and millions of people have no clean water to drink because of such policies designed at our economics departments here at universities and then applied through, you know, organizations at the transnational level, allowing corporations to do things that are killing so many people that it's not really about environmentalism so much. It's about, like, making sure this kind of thing can never happen again to human beings of the planet. But I want to talk about, since someone said, well, I'm into the market, but I don't know much about all that. You say all these people are dying, can you tell us more? Here's the thing about markets and what's often referred to as economic unfreedom. That is to say, like, people, like, the whole point of the liberal version of, markets, or what's called neoliberalism or classical liberalism, and it's spoken on college campuses. Um, we want to talk for a minute about, as far as what they've done to the water supply of the planet with this kind of economic model when it's applied to the transnational sector, where there's no rules and it's all handled by these global institutions that have nothing to do with any government. That becomes very frightening what these ideas look like in their sort of application, particularly this thing called industrial agriculture, which is using up water so fast that it has to be stopped, or everyone's going to die, including the planet with it. Um, but the role of markets is often considered to be that market oriented things, private sector oriented things, are like a part of the development process of late industrializing countries. That is, countries that are still, from our standpoint, not yet fully industrialized or not yet part of the global market. Well, the way that globalization went down in the 90s. Remember what globalization is. It refers to a very specific type of economic integration, and there are many types of economic integration, but a very specific type that benefits a sector that isn't really part of our country, doesn't operate like normal capital formations, are in strategic alliance with these global institutions and with central banks. This isn't like business as usual, okay? But whether or not we think here in our, like, very narrow view that market mechanisms or whatever somehow contribute to economic growth and that that's just common sense, it's a serious mistake to understand the place of market mechanism in the abstract without realizing that, like, there are times when it becomes genocidal if you apply it to this sector. So, for example, like, to allow a corporation to, if you remove limits on foreign direct investment and remove limits on that a very large transnational corporation can petition the World Trade Organization to, you know, slap fines and lawsuits on any government that attempts to limit their use of their water supplies, okay, then we're not talking about freedom of markets. We're talking about protecting the transnational sector against, like, rational human beings who don't want to all die of thirst and dysentery from drinking poisoned water. I mean, it's not it's something very real, and there's a human cost, and it's coming this way. So no one's against markets per se in the abstract, but it has to be, can't be a block against finding out something like all the water of the entire planet being used up so fast that the hydrological cycle can't replace it. It'll harm industry just as much as it harms human beings and the planet. So if someone were to be in any of the industries that use manufacturing, remember, water is used in the manufacture of these computers, in the manufacture of the sneakers I'm wearing, It takes an incredible amount of water to make a car, for example. Other industries will begin to be victimized by this water consortium that's formed around the water scarcity caused by the transnational agro sector based here. These are limits to individual freedoms and human rights when people don't have access to clean water, but it's not talked about as you're violating human rights because we just speak in the abstract here about markets. We also speak about something called environmentalism as though it's sort of like, something for people really into ecological issues. No, 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 no. When it has to do with drinking water, this is just its own thing, and we have to. If we can't find a way to discipline transnational capital now, when they're doing something genocidal like that and something's going to kill the planet, there'll be more of those kind of problems along the way. It's a grown-up discussion that you have to enter into if you're just, thinking in terms of like, I like the market. We all like the market. But what else could we say here that would be help? Um, oh, I don't know. I mean, what's this now? It's very difficult to talk about. But these threats are real and they're looming, and we got to stop calling it climate change and calling it climate destabilization. And it can't be the purview of just like whatever the liberal sector is, who's like is the and there's like a. I mean, it has to be a concern of logic that we can't that using up 70% of the water and using it up so fast that the planet can't replenish it is not an issue of liberal and conservative. Um, I don't know. What else could we say? You know, maybe nothing.